What's up? What's up, my geeks? Jeffrey Powers here from Geekazine, and welcome to another episode of Geek Tech Talk Live. Today, we're going to show you how to create a puppet in Adobe Character Animator, and I'm going to do it completely from scratch, which means I got a blank canvas right here, and we're going to give it a try. We're going to do that next. You are watching Geek Tech Talk Live with Jeffrey Powers. What's up, my geeks? Here we are. I'm here. You're here. It's a great Friday as we get ready to introduce the weekend. And it's now continuing the part of the series of the Adobe products and Adobe Creative Cloud. I have decided, I've been working a lot with Adobe Character Animator. And last week, I actually purchased a puppet. And then I made a whole bunch of changes, and I did it in Adobe Illustrator. I'm not very familiar with Adobe Illustrator, so there was a little bit of a learning curve right there. But what I decided to do is, well, I've made puppets by taking other puppets and bringing them into Photoshop or Illustrator and changing the features. What if I was to make something completely from scratch? And that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to make a puppet completely from scratch. In fact, you'll see it. I've got it right here set up on my secondary computer. We're going to be making everything: the head, the ears, the stick figure, everything. And we're going to see how easy it is to actually do it from scratch. Now, you can get, they do have examples. Let me show you the main example that they tell you to use. This is called Chloe, and this is Chloe 2.0. Chloe 1.0 was a little bit more rough around the edges, but Chloe 2.0 looks like a really nice animated character. And with Chloe 2.0, we have separate arms and more features to that. And that's what I want to do with my character animator, is make it for the newest version of Adobe Character Animator and give it as much ability as possible. Eventually, I want to be able to turn its head and do a whole bunch of smiles and everything like that. So that's what I'm doing here, is planning to put together this puppet as we go. This is all a part of the Adobe Creative Cloud software, which you can get right here. And it's a $52, $53 a month. Of course, they have annual plans, yearly plans. And of course, if you're a student or a teacher, you have a discount right there. I am using a laptop in this case. What am I using? It's the HP ZBook 15G5. And this one is a 1920 by 1080. I think this one is 4K, but I did scale it down to 1920 by 1080 for this thing. But it does have the Intel 6-core Xeon processor, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. You can adjust that. Lots of things. It's got Thunderbolt. I've got the adapter, which has the docking station to it, and so I can have music playing while I'm doing all this, or I can plug in more things, more USB devices, and a lot more. It's got a touch screen, so it comes with the pen, and this is a Wacom pen that's made specifically for the ZBook. Before we get into start doing this, I do have to mention that the Adobe Creative software, I did get a copy to do all these reviews on, but of course they're not paying me for anything, and all opinions of what I do, good or bad, are of my own and not of Adobe. I do not work for Adobe or anything like that. I do not work for any of the companies that you're seeing me live stream on, so just check out my review policy. All right, let's do this. Let's get into here. I'm feeling a little bit of pressure now because I think I got everything in order on what I have to do. And so let's bring up the screen here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by, and I'm using Photoshop because I'm more familiar with it over Illustrator. If you give me a little while, I'll figure out how to do some Illustrator. Maybe I'll make a puppet in Illustrator, because they say it's the better thing to do. But it's all preference, and you can definitely make great character animation puppets through Photoshop as you can through Adobe Illustrator. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by going over and we created a new document. this document, I call it Geekazine, of course. I set the resolution to 3000 by 3000. And then I also set it at 300 dots per inch. So it's a pretty big document. And keep in mind, it depends on what you have for your computer, how big you can actually make this, because you're going to be making a lot of layers in this document. And so the file is going to get pretty big, and then the computer is going to use some resource. So here we are. And let me pull up my layers here, because this is where we're going to start. And we're going to just drag the layers up. All right, so we have our layers area, and this is where we're going to be doing some intense movement here. I'm just going to take this background. Oh, I don't have a layer, so I'm going to do one thing that they don't suggest that you do in the other tutorials that I've seen on how to create this. And I'm going to make a layer, and this is going to be my pencil layer. And in drawing, I'm an old school drawer. I don't know if you know about me, but I did draw for a little bit. I did have a website that was an online comic back in about 2000 called Cybeeks. It was about computer geeks that were doing everyday adventures, and it had a few fans to it. And the comic ran for about a year and a half, and then I had a daytime job. I had to deal with daytime job things, so I ended up having to close that out. But I'd love to start doing Cybeeks on Adobe Character Animator. Maybe, possibly, we'll see what happens there. So anyway, as an old school creator, I like to do what's called a blue line, which is basically an outline to show where everything is going to go. And since this is the first time that I'm doing this, I want to create a blue line. I'm going to, let's get the paint tool, blue line, and then from here I'm going to just do the cross line. So this is where the arms are going to go. And then I'm going to create the head right here. So I'm going to create a very simple head, couple lines around it, and then I'm going to create a pair of legs and feet. So that's basically my stick line, and as you can see, it's not perfect, and I'm not following the right rules for that, because they suggest that the proportions, how many head lengths to the body, and things like that. And if you're really drawn like I draw, then you've pretty much got those rules down. And I'm just going to kind of get rid of this line right here. And I'm going to bring back in the paint tool. And then I'm just going to kind of put the shoulders where the shoulders are supposed to go. And then we're going to do an arm like that. And once again, I'm not too worried about how this looks, because this is my, do that a little bit more over there. This is just an outline, and if I was drawing from paper, I would probably be a little bit more cautious on how I draw this. That doesn't look proportionate line-wise, so let's just bring it down. There we go. So we got basic outline of this, and even the legs I could probably bring up just a little bit there. So now I have my blue outline. I have an idea of how this is going to look. My character puppet is going to look, and now it's time to do some regular layers. Now, this is where we're going to bring in what they suggest that you do. First of all, we're going to go back over to the layers, and we are going to create we're going to create a folder. They're basically called groups. The first group is going to be the name. So we're going to call this Jeff. And within this group, we're going to be creating two more groups, and one's going to be called head, and the other one's going to be called body. And then I'm going to make sure the body's underneath the head. Now, but not as it's going to be its own group here. So let's do that. There we go. So now head and body are in here. Now, head has to be before body, and the reason why is it's layers. So the group head will be the dominant, the front layer, and then the body will be just behind that. And you don't need to have it like that, but in drawing a person in this puppet, yeah, it's probably the best way to do that. If you're creating some weird characters where heads are going to be flying around from bodies and things like that, that might not be your choice, and you can definitely play around with that as you go. But this is how we're going to set it up. Now, we have our head and our body, and now we're going to make our head. It's going to be the first part of Character Animator. And we're going to go, and I'm just going to start by creating it through an ellipsis tool. And then I'm going to make the adjustments as I go from there. So there's the head right there, and it made four spots to it, 4 dots to it. And I'm just going to go, and I'm going to, whoops, bring in the chin right there. There we go. So we have a little bit more angle. Make it look, well, that looks a little bit more alienish. So we'll bring this down. We'll bring these 2 down. And then we're going to bring out the head a little bit. And then one more thing, I'm just going to take all of these and kind of move them up a touch just to make it a slightly smaller head. And so that's the head. And of course, you don't need to have that in the blue color. In fact, I'll probably give myself a little bit of skin tone. Skin tone, that kind of works for me for my head. Now, we have the head, and in the head, we basically call it head, if I can spell it right. And there we basically have our head shape. Now you can have layers in front and back, but we're just going to do this really quick. And then we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to do a pin tool to that. So let's do that. We're going to create a new layer. And we'll just call it layer 2 for now. And then we'll do the pen tool. Where'd it go? And we're going to go set this up to shape up on top here. And then we're going to do a single dot on the bottom of the head, like that. What does that do? Basically, that's going to anchor the head, basically a point of reference for Character Animator. So it does absolutely nothing for Photoshop, but it's a reference for Character Animator. And we're going to rename that shape, and we're going to call that Origin. All right, so now we have our origin. So if I was to open this up into Character Animator right now, we'd have our head and a pivot movement. That's, between the head and the neck right there. All right, so from that, we're going to create a new group in the head. So we're going to go up here, and we're going to create this group, and we're going to call it plus right eye, plus right space eye. With that, we can create a layer. And then that layer is the eyeball. So we'll create a new layer. And I'm also going to create the layer, the blue layer. We're going to create another blue layer. I'll go face outline. Face outline. This is going to be muted out because it's going to be a drawing. And then I'm going to use my pen tool. And we're going to bring back that blue chalk look. There we are. And I'm going to zoom out just a touch. And with this, I am going to draw a line down the face with a weird ending to that. I don't know why that did that. Anyway, and then, of course, we've got the eyes and the nose and the mouth. That's what I want to do with that, is make sure that everything is set up properly. So when I do put the eyes in, it doesn't look all wonky. All right, and of course, we'll take the face line and we'll kind of go, we'll give it a little bit less opacity to it, so I can see it, but I don't need to see it. So now I'm going to take the right eyeball, just do a shape here, and then I might change that later on. And of course, the eyeball is basically going to be white. There we go. That looks good. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this where my eye would be. There we go. So there I have a basic eyeball, and I might play with that a little bit. And inside the eyeball, we will do the pupil. So that'll be right above the eyeball layer. We're going to go new, and we're going to go to layer, and we're going to say right pupil. And I'm going to change that to right eyeball. And now at the pupil, we're just going to create a simple pupil. There we go. So now I have a pupil set on that. We are going to, like I said, we call it right pupil. We're actually going to put a plus in front of that. What it does with the plus is it's going to tell the character animator that this is going to be a movable pupil. It'll move around when I'm using the camera. So you don't do it on everything. So right eyeball is not going to have a plus to it, but right pupil will. And basically that also means that it's going to allow the pupil to move around within the eyeball. What it's called is warp independent. And so we got that, and we're going to do one more here, one more layer, and it's called blink. And that'll just be a straight line. I don't know why it moved down there. There we go. So that's going to be the blink right there. And then finally we're going to do a lid, which I'm just going to take the eyeball like this, and I'm going to go, and we're going to call it lid, and we're going to move it above the pupil, and I'm going to then go like that, and then bring in this color. I will then bring in here, and I'll just highlight this one, hit the delete, and so now it's got an eyelid to it. And I can take these two, and I can bring them up a little bit so it doesn't look like a full lid there. There we go. And yeah, I'm definitely going to need to draw. So now we have that. Let's go back to the eyeball, and then we're going to put in a 5 pixel layer stroke. There we go. Not perfect, but that's okay. That's okay. This is gonna. I'll be doing adjustments as we go from there. So we have the lid. We have the blink, and the blink will be above the lid. So we have blink and lid, and then the pupil, and then the eyeball. That's what I want right here. To do the left one, all I'm going to do is duplicate this whole group. So let's duplicate group, and we'll call it plus left eye. And then we're just going to take the move tool, and then we're going to move the whole thing. Like that. And inside here, for some reason, I guess I missed on that. So we'll go plus right eye. And now I'm going to take anything that says right and change that to left. So left eyeball. And there, we have the eyeball. Now, what is that going to do with our puppet? Good question. So let's save this. Now we can bring this into Character Animator and see what we've got. We'll go take that out and take that out. So here we go. Oh, one more thing here. And we'll go pupil. And let's put a stroke on that. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this in. Yeah, I want to do we'll do a new project. There's my old puppet, by the way. And we'll just say project 4, save. And now I'll say file, import as a puppet or through Photoshop PSD. But I have it, I'm saving it through my Dropbox. There we are. It's right there. Let's bring I think it's the Y position. There we go. So as you can see now, I don't know what I did wrong, but you can kind of see, let's zoom in even more, that my puppet, the eyes are moving because it's going through here. And sorry, because I'm looking at the screen, it looks to the right. I got to set my pose here first. So let me do that so it knows where I am. Now, look at that. I got my eyes moving around. I got no mouth, but that's okay. And for some reason, I did the blink wrong. So I'll have to check on how that works. But as you can see, you basically just have some moving eyes. That's pretty sweet, right? All right, let's turn the puppet off. And I'm not sure what's. Oh, this is that's that anchor point. So as I'm moving my head, it's moving that as well. And I think I got to tell it to do something. Once I start setting the points here. So we've set the face. It's like a beam. This is kind of cool. You got the beam going right here. Having some fun with this program, just amazing what you can do with it. But that's basically the character, and we have the scene. We'll just save that scene. All right, let's continue on here. Let's get the nose and mouth out of the way. A new layer of nose. So what we'll do is we'll minimize the right and left eye. We'll save that, and now we'll go back to head. And we're going to create a new group called, or no, a new layer called nose, or a group called nose? New layer called nose, okay. And we'll call that nose. Now, in this case, I might want to draw the nose in as opposed to making a shape, but you can make a shape if you want. Let's use the pen tool. Let's draw a shape. What the hey? And the fill, we're going to go back to my skin tone, and yeah, we'll just leave it at skin tone. So now I'm just going to draw a very quick nose. Nice bulbous nose, I suppose. It looks horrible. And we'll go to the direct. We'll just kind of make some adjustments to it so it looks somewhat decent. So not a great nose, but it's still a nose. And we're going to bring the nose. The nose goes, where does the nose go? I think I'm going to put the nose underneath the eye layers, right above the origin. There we go. And so we got a nose. Now, conflicting things here. One says to put a plus on it, so we're going to do that. And then now we're going to do a folder called mouth. Now, the mouth folder, it's going to have a bunch of stuff in here, and that's the main reason why I've got Chloe loaded up here, is because all of this, there's going to be a lot of mouth movements, because you want to have your A's, your I's, your O's, your Oo's, and your neutral look. So we got the mouth. We're going to call that plus mouth, and go like that. And we're going to start with a neutral position. I'm going to bring back my face line. And then we're going to start with, in mouth, we're going to start with a layer, new layer, and we're going to call that neutral. No plus in front of it. All right, and then I'm just going to draw that in. And I'll give myself a little bit more of a smile. That's kind of neutral. I kind of want more to the look here. So we got the flow and smoothing. Let's bring that up. We'll bring a small smile to it. There we go. Look at that. There's our, that's what I want right there. Now neutral is going to be the primary. So that one will be active, and all the other ones that I do, and we'll do like 2 or 3 of them, those will be hidden. And as I move my mouth, it will then show those. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to call it D. I should probably do the Shift Control N for new layer. So Shift Control or Shift Command N for new layer, and we'll call that D, capital D. That's kind of got a little bit of this with this. I'll play with that a little bit more. That's basically the D. And now we're going to hide that, and we'll bring back the neutral. We'll save that. All right, so let's get back here. So we've got our D. Next one we're going to do is, let's do the O face. And we'll do like 2 or 3 of these. So now we're going to go new layer, and we're going to go O, O-H, capital O, lowercase h. And then this is just basically a circle. And so we've created a circle. And let's turn off the neutral. There we go. And then we hide that, and let's do S. Let's try S, and then we'll make that more of a smile. So new layer, and we'll call that S, capital S, and then we'll do the smile like that. So let's hide the neutral. To look at that, looks pretty good. I might even just put in a little bit of white there. There we go, and then flip that back. Nothing too fancy. Let's come back into Character Animator. and it should load up the puppet. Now, as you can see, it's got my lines in here. It's still got this weird, I got to figure out why that's doing that. I might have missed out on something, but as you can see, my eyes are there. Let me reset this so it'll do the eyes properly. And look at that. I got a face. I got a moving face. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh man, so this just the first part is putting together the face, and as you can see, it's not. It takes a little bit of time, and I have this set up. I should probably have this set up a little bit better so I can really work on this. I might just flip the Z book around because this can do tent mode and this can do reverse mode. So I can just kind of put my hand on there and really draw. But as you can see, there was no extra stuff I had to do in Character Animator. If you set these correctly, then it'll know what to do. Like for instance, notice how the pupils don't leave the whites of the eyes or the lids for that matter. So if I look up, look down, and I do the blink, it does the blink. But that's the first part. I think this is going to be a little bit longer of a program here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to draw the body next. So I'm going to reset some things, and we'll come back to this. Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine, Think Magazine, Put Into Geeky got me, and you can find me all on the socials over here. They're coming up right now. Once again, Geekazine, that's where you go. So, we did part one, and in part one, we basically created the head of the person here, and this is the head right here. We are using just Photoshop and Character Animator. These are the two pieces of software that they're a part of, and they're all part of the Adobe Creative Cloud. Since we last left off, I actually set up another camera. I set up a camera right here that overlooks me. So when I look at the screen, it sees the Character Animator sees me. So this is the Character Animator. Now I have this camera, which is right above my monitor, so I can see what I'm doing as I'm talking. From the last time that we left off, I've created this head. I did a little bit of adjustments. It looks a little bit better. I brought in a mouse so I can actually do a little bit more. The pen works is nice, but it's not as great. I'm not used to it. So basically, I smoothed out the head. The last head was really rough. So I smoothed a lot of different things out. I put in eyebrows. I put in a mouth system. I put in the ears, and I adjusted the eyes and fixed the nose. Made it look a little bit more nosier, because we need nosier. And you call that folder your character. And in this case, I called him Jeff because I just didn't really think what I want to call him just yet. But there was one tutorial that said you had to use Jeff, and the other tutorial said you had to use Jeff Plus, or Plus Jeff. And the reason why, let me call this up so I get the term right. It's called Warp Independently. And the idea is when you put a plus in front of a layer, that means that it's going to work independent. That's how the pupils move, and they don't leave the eyeball, is through this warp independently. But there was one that said you had to do plus Jeff, and another one that said Jeff. I did plus Jeff, and it made the head go all cattywampus. Once I took that plus out, the head moved naturally. And as you can see, I can turn my head. As I'm moving my head, I can turn my head. And in fact, let me show you this way. So as I turn my head, you'll see on the corner here, you see me right here, but in the corner of the video, you'll see a different camera shot. And I'm just moving around and I'm talking, and you could definitely use this. In fact, if you have two different options up on the top corner here, you can either use the microphone, or you can use the webcam, or you can use them in tandem. So if I turn off the webcam, watch this. Now it puts it back into solid frame. I can't blink. I can't raise my eyebrows. All of this stuff can be controlled through what are called triggers. But it's just basically, it's using my voice to try and figure out how it talks. All the A, E, I, O, U's and everything like that. L, 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 D, D, S, S, ah, O, E. See, you get the idea. But if I if I do the opposite and turn off the microphone on Character Animator, it will now figure it out from the camera. And I don't think I have that set up right because it's not doing anything. It's just kind of raising the mouth a little bit. So, and I do have the ability for the eyebrows. Everything on this side, this little right side panel, I can do things and help the character along. Like for instance, eyebrow strength. So we got some nice eyebrows here, but I can change this. I can go like this. Watch this. La, la, la. And you turn it back on the microphone so you get la. So we'll bring the eyebrow strength back down to where it was. Boom. There we go. So now it goes like that. And I can do that with the mouth. I can go like ha, ho, he, or bring it back. And if you feel that the mouth is bouncing too much, you can change the strength the other way. So now it doesn't move as much as before, but then we'll bring it back to normal. As normalcy as possible. And here I am, and I'm talking to you, and it looks pretty darn good. So lots of different things you can do. There's an raised eyebrow tilt, so I'll do that. So we'll get really tilted if we wanted to, or not as much. So you get the idea. You can have a lot of fun on it. Now, the other things that I created as on the face, like I said, the ears and stuff like that. But now it's time to focus on the booty, because we need a booty to go with our head, right? Yes, exactly. So with that, if you got any questions, feel free to ask those questions down there. So if you're on Amazon, feel free to follow me there. If you're anywhere else, you can subscribe. Wherever those links are, definitely do that. And let's get into getting you a body, or getting me a body, technically. So, and what we're going to do, we're going to try and keep it as simple as possible. I'm going to do it in 4 different zones. The first zone is the torso, the lower part of the body, with the legs and the feet. And then the second one is the body itself. The neck, actually, there's going to be a neck, and then there's going to be a left arm and a right arm. And then we're going to have hands. So actually 2 more to add. 7 pieces that we're going to put together. And of course I can make the adjustments to add more if I want the legs to do things like bounce around or anything like that. But right now I just want to put in the basics. The first thing that we're going to do, and I just need to call this up so I can see things. So anyway, like I said, we created the head. And we're just gonna go like that. We got the body here, so we're gonna go down the body. We got our wireframe. So from the body, I am going to create a new layer, and I'm gonna call these I'm gonna call it the torso, because that's what my character that I am going off of, the Chloe character, is named it. Now, just so you know, Chloe, and yeah, I took her hair off. Sorry, but I don't have any hair on this character, so I didn't want any hair as I was trying to figure all this out. But Chloe is the default model, and Chloe, if you ever just want to create a design from a character, a puppet that's already done, then Chloe would most likely be the puppet that you use to do that. That's what they suggest. So I'm going to use that on there, and all the way down to the bottom here, we have the first layer, which is pants, which is basically pants and shoes. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to create pants and shoes. Shoes and pants and shoes and pants and shoes and pants and shoes and shoes and pants and shoes and pants. Okay. And I found another thing as I was making my fixes for this character offline, is that I can do a smart object allows you to, it's like a Photoshop inside of a Photoshop. And it allows you to create layers and then save that as the smart object, and then use that smart object as its own layer. And that's what we're going to do once we create the original part of here. So let's go back here. And this time, and for this part, we're going to start using the pen tool. And for the torso, I'm going to start by putting a point up in the middle of the belly, and then bring it down here. and then start to bring the legs into play. And it's not going to be great, but you get the idea. And I'm going to just kind of get the feet going. And I might just do shoes in a second here. Now I'm going to create another layer right above that, and we're going to call it left shoe. So now I'm going to take that shoe, and then we're just going to do copy paste. Move it. Control T, so we can, or Command T if you're on a Mac, and we're going to say flip horizontal and bring it over. Okay, now we got 2 shoes, which is all I want right now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the left shoe and the pants, and we're going to highlight both, and we're going to right click, and we're going to say convert to smart object, and then we're going to go edit contents, and boom, there's my really weird looking leg pant thing going. So now I can make my my adjustments, and I don't have to focus. I'm not focusing on anything else other than the pants themselves. And the reason why I created the wireframe around the feet, the legs extend into the shoes, is so there's many different reasons. But if I ended up making these shoes move otherwise, then I'll have to go in and adjust this wireframe so that doesn't happen. But I did that mostly so I can see how things are going, and then of course I could make the shoes. For what we're doing, this is pretty good. We've got the feet in here in our hammer time pants, and gotta love the hammer time pants. And now what we're gonna do is we are going to make the torso. And now there we go. At least we got the wireframe. And I zoomed him in so you can see the face. So let's now zoom him out. We go down to transform, and we go back to scale, and then we bring him up, and there we go. And as you can see, we got the wireframe, and as I'm just tilting back and forth, it's floating, and there's a reason why, and that's something that you'll end up doing in Character Animator to get it to work independently, and we'll get into that part if we have some time. But basically, I'm just a free-floating spirit. I'm free. I can't be moved in any way besides the fact that my face is talking, but that's pretty much it. So, okay, that's looking good. So let's get back here. Let's create a torso. And I'm going to create the torso, but I'm also going to create a neck. And I think I'm going to have the neck separate from the torso. And we'll create a new layer, and we'll call it torso. And with the torso, once again, I will grab the pen tool. And this time I'm going to start by right there, right around the neck area. Okay, so it's the basic outline of the torso. So now I can go in here and make the changes as I go. Oops. So now we have a torso. It's nothing spectacular, nothing to write home about. I've got that, and as I work on it, I can definitely add to it and fix it up and add layers to it. Once again, I can turn this now into a smart object. That brings it in as his own body. That makes it easier to work on, because then you're not seeing all the other problems or whatever with your other parts of the design. So now, and of course with this, I can now go in and let's see, I can kind of, so now I can take my logo and I can put it right there and right on the shirt if I wanted to. And now there it is right there. I've got a really bad looking shirt and skinny arms. I don't know. I got the skinny arms. Anyway, next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the arms, left arm and right arm. So, and these are going to be groups. So we'll go like that. Actually, we'll do one and then we'll just basically copy it and flip it. That's what a lot of people do. So for this one, we will say right arm. So we'll go plus right space arm. And like I said, it's so it can do that independent warp independence to it. And with that, we've got the right arm, and the torso and the pants are not in that group. We'll expand that a little bit, and then we'll say new layer. And we're just going to do the arm. You can set part and part and part and part and part if you want to, but we'll just for this at this point, we're just going to create the whole arm and without the hand, and then go from there. We'll go arm, ARM for the layer. There it is. And then I'll bring back. Actually, I'll just do it this way. I'll do a rectangle tool. There we are. And then we will rotate it. Bring it down. And we want to hide it. We want to put it here because the torso, which will technically be above, whoops, yes, we do. The torso, which will technically be above the arms, will cover over the arms. Now, in some cases, you might have an arm. Let's say if you have a side profile, this arm will be on the front layer. It doesn't matter where they are in the structure, except for the layers. So in this case, we want to have the arms to be behind the torso, so when they move around, you don't see the lines. But some people will put it in front of the torso. In Chloe's situation, I believe these arms, these are definitely in front of it, and of course they don't have it completely closed. But in this case, what I'm going to do, because I don't know if I'm going to keep him with the shirt like this or fix the shirt. I haven't figured that out just yet. He's still got to get a neck, and but basically that is going to be how that goes. But first of all, I'm just going to move torso to the back just so I can see what's going on as I go from there. So the arm, the cool thing about the arm is character animator software will bend it. But if you definitely want to make it look a little more like an arm, maybe give it some muscles or something like that, give it a little bit more of the design, then you can definitely do that. All right, perfect. Let's do the hand. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll create a new layer and we'll go right hand. In some cases, you'll have hands that are just fixed. They're just like this, and you'll move them around and they'll just be like this. But there's abilities to actually change the hand from this to this to this to this to this to whatever you decide you want to set up. So in this case, it just like with the mouth. Actually, I'll show you that now because it pertains to this right here. So going back up to the head, I made the different mouth parts, and we did 3 of them in the last video. So now I have multiples right here. The first one's the neutral position, the main position, and that is visible. All the other ones are not visible. And what happens is inside of Adobe Character Animator Studio, I said it right now. Inside of there, basically, it will determine. If you say O, it'll say, okay, it needs the O, so it'll take the neutral position and it'll hide it, and then take the O position and bring it out. So, and that's kind of a little AI right there as it's doing it, which is really sweet. Same thing with the hands, except it doesn't work that way. You can't just, like for instance, I can't just raise my hand on the video screen there and it won't bring up a hand. It doesn't work that way. You use what's called a trigger to bring the hand from maybe this to this to this, and go from there. And that would be the same thing as doing the A, E, I, O, U, and things like that. So with that said, we are going to create the hand pretty similar to this, and we're not going to get too involved in it. For the right hand, I'm going to create 2 hands. I'm going to create the neutral hand, which is this, and then a fist. Maybe a thumbs up. No, we'll do a fist and a hand. We'll keep it as simple as possible. So, with that said, we've got the right hand here, layer called default. Now inside that layer, I am going to create just a rounded like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this into a smart object like I did with the other ones. And what's really cool about that is I can edit the contents, and now I can take this Minecraft looking fist and actually do some real editing to it and fix it up, make it look nicer. Around that. And it's a very generic hand, and that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some finger lines to it. So I'll go back here and I'll go to line tool. There we go. So nothing fancy. And there we got our basic hand. Hand will actually go behind the arm, so you won't see the lines. But I'm definitely going to move this over a little bit so it lines up a little bit better. There we go. Nice dark blue. There we go. That's a little bit better. And we'll say yes. And now with the arm, we'll give it also that dark blue treatment. And the hand. Looks like the arm could move over and up just a touch. There we go. And that means that the hand has to move over a touch. There we go. And there we've got our right arm. So now all we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. We're going to do that, and we're going to say that was a Control or Command T. We're going to and then we're going to say flip horizontal, and we're going to bring it over. Right about there, a little bit more. And now we have our left hand, our left arm, and we'll go plus left space arm. We'll zoom it out a little bit. Whoops. I did shift minus. That was a different function. And now our pants look really, really, really odd. In fact, that flesh color looks like he's got no pants on. So let's take those pants. There we go. Crazy. We're going to save this. There's my whole body. There I am with arms and everything, which is pretty cool. I didn't switch out hands just yet. But, that's okay. Let's just leave it at this. We're getting close to the hour, and I want to do this other part so it doesn't look like I'm floating throughout the area. And this is, without a neck, let's put a neck in here really quick. Now we have a neck and a face and a body, and with some really weird legs with some really weird pants on it. As you can see, we have a full body, we have arms that don't move, and legs and really cool pants on. Gotta love these pants. So let's get this so this scene is a little bit more workable. So if you go over, what I just did was I went over to the rig area. You have 3 areas up on the top here: rig, record, and stream. Record for your recording if you're creating this in this timeline down here. Stream, so I can, and you don't need to be in stream on this, but this will have your controls ready, your triggers ready for moving hands and things like that. But then you'll have him like right here. And I realized why that's doing that, because I have the background on the Photoshop. Let's turn off the background, and you didn't see any of that. Now look at that. There we go. And it's a blank, it's black, because it's now got a transparent background. So I could actually put other stuff in the background, like this right here. Now you'll see me with a background on my streaming system, but that's not here nor there. So we got that going. That's perfect. So let's do this. We'll go back here. We got our character. Now let's go ahead and kind of pin him to the ground and get it so we can start moving some arms, because we want to start moving some arms. So first thing we want to do is we want to go over to rig. And we had this zoomed in on the face. Let's zoom this back out to the whole body. So, and you might not want to pin your character to the ground. That's quite all right. You don't have to do this, but this is how you do it really quick. There's a little down on the toolbar here. You have a pin tool. This is a little push pin, and this is what will put the feet on the ground. So you just click the pin tool and you pin, and it's fixed, and now it'll set there. So whatever you do, and we're going to put it on the heels as well, because these are bigger feet. So now none of that will move with the character. So now if I go back into record, see, I am now set on the ground, so I don't move around as much. Let's go back to rig. We got our fixed feet. But basically, that's the whole body from stove to countertop. Weird Zumba pants guy in the shirt and everything like that. I'll fix the legs on my character, but it's really not that difficult. You just have to figure out the layers, where the layers are going to go, and what you want for facial expressions, and then just do the work. You can do the work in Photoshop. You can do it in Adobe Illustrator, and then you bring in, you import it as a puppet, and then that puppet is available to create. And you don't need to make a person. You could make there's puppets of brains of, there's a fish, there's monsters in there, and there's lots of places you can go to get puppets and pay for puppets to use. In fact, I will be doing a video series with some friends on another channel, and we have created Professor Build is his name. And Professor Build is going to be just basically, he's got a yardstick, and he's teaching you through PowerPoint presentations. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this. Let's go back to this one. There we go. Adobe Creative Cloud and Character Animator inside of Adobe Creative Cloud. Create your characters, have some fun like I'm doing. And, we got some time to do these cool things. And I want to see what kind of puppets you make. So let me know by tweeting me and letting me know over at Geekazine. Think Magazine, put in a geek, you got me. And we'll go from there. All the socials, you can find me everywhere. And wherever that follow or subscribe or whatever button is, go ahead and hit it. And let me know that you're around. I'd appreciate that very much. This has been another episode of Geek Tech Talk Live with Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. We've got some other cool stuff over on the channel, including Lego builds, including reviews, and including interviews over on Geekazine. So thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, you guys geek out and take care.